Okay, we're back with Alex Ferrari. Thank you so much, Alex. Really good stuff here. I wanted to, I have this theory, and I'd love to get your input because no one knows more about the indie film market, including distribution, than probably you.
I appreciate that.
I have this theory that to begin with, over the past 10 years, let's say,
Hmm.
the theatrical market was shrinking a little bit because
Hmm.
more and more people were tending to watch movies on Netflix or Amazon or Hulu. Now we have Peacock, Disney Plus, and it just goes on and on and on. And more people are trading in their 30-inch plasmas for 60, 80, 100-inch screens, surround sound in your homes. And then post-COVID, it seems that we don't know the actual numbers yet, but some people have said approximately 25% of screens will close. I think there's still going to be a theatrical world, and I'm one of those guys that will go to the movie theater forever. I mean, I'm not going to
Hmm.
see Mission Impossible on a 50-inch screen. I want the full immersion experience. My question for you is, with these smaller theatrical exhibitions, is it just insanity for a second or third or fourth time filmmaker to jump out of the $2 million box? Like, what our audience here is like 50,000 to 2 million, because I
Hmm.
think you can make a really really good movie for $1 to $2 million.
No, yeah.
Maybe some decent names too, and
Hmm.
I just think it's insanity to to do the 5-7 million indie, unless you're really prepared. I'd love to get your take.
Absolutely. I agree with you 100%. I think anyone breaking that $2 million barrier, it's just so difficult to generate revenue with your film in pre-COVID world. I can't even fathom what it's going to be like post-COVID. I've spoken about distribution and revenue generation with films at nauseum on my podcast. And in 2019, when I went to AFM, the American Film Market, I had the opportunity to meet with a lot of distributors who wanted to meet with me because of the distributor aggregator breakdown and all that stuff that I was involved with. And I sat down with many distributors, and at one point, I just kept hearing the same spiel of them basically ripping off filmmakers. And I just sat there on one of these meetings. I just turned on, I'm like, "You guys, can I say something? You guys really have no idea how you're going to make money, do you?" And they straight up looked me in the face and they go, "Yeah, we really don't know where the money is going to be because everything's changing so rapidly that we're just basically our business model is to acquire as many products or many films as possible with no money up front, lock them in for 7 to 10 years, if not longer. So our library looks nice and big. So then we can negotiate full library deals with new streaming services as they pop up around the world. That's the only thing that we do. And then once we have films, we just throw it up against the wall to see what sticks. And if something sticks, we'll put a little bit of heat behind it. If it doesn't stick, it just goes into the netherworld and it's gone. And we never think about it again. And the filmmaker will never make another dollar off of it. Not that they will make a dollar off of it, even if it does stick. That's just generally the way the distribution world works. It's there it's built to screw over the filmmaker. And I'm not saying there are good distributors out there. There's good distributors. There's ethical distributors. There's distributors who actually care about filmmakers and care about building relationships with filmmakers, but they are anomalies. They are outliers. They are not the norm in the distribution space. So with theatrical, I've been saying this for years, and I'm not the only one, that theatrical you could just look at the numbers. Theatrical has been going down slowly, and there's been this false kind of bubble in the theatrical world, and also in I think personally in Hollywood in general, there's a bubble that's about to pop, which was twofold. One, theatrical, the numbers have kind of stayed the same as far as box office returns, but there's less people going to the theater, but the prices of tickets are going up, and they're also
Correct.
they're getting more event style things like IMAX screens and premium seating and all of that stuff. So the prices have been going up, and that's what's been keeping those numbers kind of artificially inflated for a long time. And then on the second point, the theatrical component of the Hollywood system has been such if you remember, the US market was the biggest market in the world. When I was coming up in the 90s, it was 70-30, meaning 70% of the total box office was US, 30% was worldwide. Well, that's pretty much turned on the other side now. Now it's 70% worldwide and 30% US.
With China, right?
Well, China's a big part of that. Big part of that, but also China's also very limiting. They only let in like 10 or 15 movies a year from the US. It's not like it's a ton of cash, and that's a very kind of weird relationship right now. Anyway, I know right now that we're not allowed to, buyers aren't buying from China. That was a big revenue hit to independent filmmakers. I sold This Is Meg to China. I can't sell my second film, On the Corner of Ego and Desire, to China because there's trade embargoes and there's issues with it, and you just can't do it. So now, because of COVID, the international market has shut down. The whole world theatrically has shut down. But even as the US tries to get some sort of revenue generating theatrically, the rest of the world it's going to take a minute before everything comes back up, and who knows when China is really going to start letting us back in. So now you have to ask yourself the question, does the US studio system, does Hollywood's current business model make sense? Does it make sense to spend $250 million on a movie and then another $250 million on marketing without a theatrical component? Are we going to lose the blockbuster? Are we going to lose the tentpoles? Or they're only going to be the Avengers. There's only going to be the Marvel movie, or basically Disney films, and the occasional Fast and Furious or James Bond film or something like that. And even then, does it make sense without a theatrical component? So I think the theatrical component will come back, but it's going to be going down, 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 down. And guys like you and me who are from a generation where the movie theater has such an impact on us because it was such a part of our upbringing and our part in connection with cinema. The generation behind us does not have that connection. Their connection is to their phones, to their tablets, to their screens. That is how they consume media. So as the generation coming up behind us, as we start to get older and older and our generation starts to die out, in 30 years, the theatrical experience will look much more like Broadway than it looks now, where tickets will be $150, $200 to go see.
It's just different, but at the same time, I also think it's very, very exciting for the ambitious young filmmaker or novice filmmaker who wants to do a $100,000 film, because you do have these platforms like Quibi and all these streaming platforms. So, I think there's a lot of opportunities.
There is a lot of opportunity, but it's the key is how to get that opportunity and how to actually get money from it.
Yeah, so and that's where they need to listen to you. They need to go over.
Yeah, the platforms. If you can get to the platforms, is the question. But who's the middleman between you, and are they going to pay you? That's the question you have to ask yourself.
So one of my favorite movies I've seen recently, and I'm not just saying this because I'm on with you, was On the Corner of Ego and Desire.
I appreciate
simply
that.
Because I'm immersed in this business. Yeah. And you get a couple of desperate filmmakers going to Sundance to try to sell a film. That's enough said. Okay.
You had me at hello.
Yeah. So you got to see this movie, especially if you're listening to this podcast. You're the audience for On the Corner of Ego and Desire. So you had a big travel budget, I'm sure. I'm guessing, though, you were able to do it for under $500,000 is what I heard.
The film was done for about $3,000 total.
What?
Yeah, the movie was done for $3,000. That was the out-of-pocket cost.
Wow. Okay. So
including flights and food and stuff. That was basically the main expense.
But you had like lodging and stuff, or you just like couch surf?
No lodging. No, we couch surf because my producer has. If you saw the movie, that party that you saw in the movie, yeah, that's where we stayed. That's his place.
Okay.
So, and we threw that. He throws that party every year. So we just filmed it. It was just part of it. So he was my co-producer. Wow. Adam Bowman was my co-producer on that project. So we had it's like a multi-million-dollar suite that he has on Main Suite. And that's one of the reasons why I decided to make the movie. I was like, hey, Adam, let's make a movie because we have that great resource of your condo on Main Street. Let's make this movie. And then I pitched him the idea and he was like, let's do it. So lodging, the only things that were really out of cost pockets were some cast and crew, which were minimal because we only shot for 4 days. And
Wow.
then flying them in, and then flying them in, and feeding
Wow.
them, basically. So that's the basis cost of the film. The camera gear was mine. I had some back end deals with with friends of mine as far as my DP Austin. I pulled favors, and then I handled all the post, and the camera gear was all mine.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
So it wasn't
Well,
really
it looked
that.
like a $300,000 film, but that's, you amortized all the gear, all the connections. Yeah.
And then
And
the cast of thousands had no idea who were in my film.
yeah, and you got a lot of
Production value.
central casting, background talent, production value.
Yes, exactly.
And that's one of the things. It's not really a discussion I go deep into, but just a friendly reminder to everyone: the easiest dollar to raise is the dollars you don't spend. So
Yeah.
you're certainly a master of that. So definitely go check out that movie. Let me ask you this, because you know this audience better than anyone in the indie film world. Why do you think raising money, and that's really what I focus on, seems to be such a big hurdle for so many filmmakers? And why do you think most people quit? They just give up after,
Because filmmakers are filmmakers. They're not business people. And filmmakers who don't understand the business side of this industry don't survive at the end of the day. So when they go to an investor, they'll pitch them. And what they're doing is they're spending 30 minutes talking about the story, and they don't care about the story. Your investment pitch to an investor should be a 2-sentence log line about the movie, and then you get into the business, where you're going to get your ROI, how you're going to get your return, how you're going to do this, this, and this. That's what they want to hear. Most filmmakers have no idea about any of that. So there's that, and then because you're not, especially when you're starting out, and trust me, I've gone down this road so many times, where I've spent money on a PPM, on a full business plan, on that whole remote, spending thousands of dollars on projections and all of this kind of stuff. But it was all fluff. And then a smart investor, smart money, not dumb money, but smart money, will see right through it. And honestly, independent film is a very risky proposition, because
Yeah.
was it 90%, 98% of independent films don't return money. A lot of that has to do with the distribution model in the world that we live in, because it's basically predatory and it's built to steal money from filmmakers. But if you know what you're doing and you're partnering with proper people, then your chances are much better. So if you're going to do an investment pitch, having a producer's rep and or sales agent that you know and trust, that has a very good reputation, there's a handful out there, that can say, hey, look, with this kind of film, this is the experience. So now you're bringing in people who have done this a lot. So now you're leveraging their experience, their name, their reputation. You've already just catapulted yourself as an independent filmmaker to the top percentile.
Are you talking about bringing a producer's rep on in early before you pitch in?
A sales rep, even if you might have to pay a little bit to have that association.
Yeah, you probably
even
will.
If it's even a few $1,000s, let's say if it's $2,000-3,000 to have them associated with the project, and based off the project and having that conversation, having that person will help you land an investor so much more quickly. If you have a producer or executive producer who's done this before attached to you, you could still be the first-time filmmaker, but having an executive producer who's done 3, 4, 5, 10 movies and has made money with them, automatically you're even up to the higher percentile of filmmakers out there pitching to investors. You've got to position the package. You've got to position the pitch in a way that it's a no-brainer, or it mitigates the risk as much as humanly possible. Most filmmakers come in, and this is a standard pitch, and you please tell me, I'm sure you've heard a couple. Please tell me, hey, I've got this movie. It's about my brother and his journey to college football, and it's great, and blah blah blah. All we need is 500,000. Okay, 500,000. All I need is 500. I've never made a movie. I need 500,000. Yeah. By the way, we're going to shoot in California, so there's no tax credits at all. There's no benefits to shooting in California. So we're going to do that. So now,
and California is a really cheap place to film.
And by the way, it's really cheap and extremely indie film friendly. You don't have to buy or actually get a permit to fart here in California. So and then they're gonna go, well, who's in it? They're like, oh, I'm casting all my local friends and actors who work at this comedy troupe down the street.
Yeah,
This is a pitch.
Yeah,
This,
bye. Yeah, I've heard that.
That pitch is done. Then the question always asked, like, well, how are you going to generate your money? Oh, well, we're going to go to Sundance.
Yeah, or we're just going to go to a film festival in general.
Well, yeah, that's
we'll take it on the film festival circuit.
We'll take it on the film festival circuit. Then we'll get bids and get offers from these big distributors. And if that doesn't work out, we'll just go to a film market and try to sell it there directly.
Yeah.
There's everything I've just said. There's no guarantee, and probably that investor will never see a dime of that film. And based off of that, more likely that filmmaker has no idea how to actually make a film.
Well, like you often, I've heard you say a couple times, it's the ego of the first-time filmmaker versus experience.
Absolutely, ego is the greatest crusher of dreams in general, but in our industry specifically, because we're so it's this craziest business I've ever seen. Because as I analyzed other industries,
it's not logical.
It's not logical in the least, because if I told you right now, hey Scott, I'm gonna go build a house. I've never built a house, but I watch HGTV all the time, so I feel that I can build a house. I need $450,000 to build this 3,200 square foot 2-story house here in California. By the way, I've never done real estate before, but I feel that I can make this thing work. And then I'm also going to build it in a very low income place. So it's going to be, I'll be the most expensive house in the neighborhood by like at least $500,000. So now you have no understanding about market. You have no understanding about construction. You have no understanding about the business in general. That's the lunacy of some filmmaker who's 22 coming up and go, I need $500,000 to make this opus of mine.
Yeah, no,
without any way
of
generating revenue. It's crazy, but that's standard practice. Why? Because Hollywood has been selling that sizzle, but is not really good at selling that steak.
Yeah,
and that's
I think you gave some great advice a minute or two ago, is to try to team up with an experienced producer or an experienced executive producer that has all those years and years of experience and that knowledge. But wanted to ask you before we wrap up, do you have any final advice for filmmakers trying to raise money, or any tips you would try to impart to them?
You need to educate yourself as much as you can once from the point of a locked picture to the very end of distribution. All of that is where you need your education, because most of the people listening have an education in regards to how to make a movie, but most do have no understanding how to raise money for a film, let alone sell the movie. Because raising the money is one thing, and you might get one shot. You might find some dumb money somewhere. Somewhere you might find some dumb money that they're going to just give you $500,000. I've seen it all the time. So it does happen. But if you go and you fail, that's the one shot you have. You should be building a career. You should understand what this business is, and not go away from the business. Dive into the business, dive into the marketing, dive into the finance, dive into the distribution, and how to generate revenue with your film. Because if you don't, you will not make it. You will quit. You will be that angry and bitter filmmaker. As I've said all the time, every one of us knows an angry and bitter filmmaker. And if you don't know an angry and bitter filmmaker, you are the angry and bitter filmmaker. So learn and educate yourself as much as possible on the process post filmmaking, the non-sexy part. I find the post filmmaking part extremely sexy. I love the business side. I love the finance. I love the distribution side. I love the revenue generating side of the business, because that's where people see your film. But the other part is what everyone focuses on, and that's why most filmmakers fail.
Well, there you have it. Heard it from Alex Ferrari, best-selling author of Rise of the Filmtrepreneur. And what's the best way? There you go. And that's a great picture, by the way.
Yes.
What's the best way for people to follow you on your YouTube channel, your website. Go ahead and shout out.
The main hub for everything I do is at indiefilmhustle.com. There you'll find links to everything, all my social media, all my other platforms. If you're interested in screenwriting, you can go to bulletproofscreenwriting.tv, which is dedicated to just screenwriters, and then filmtrepreneur.com or filmmakingbusiness.com is a quick hack to get to that quickly. That's the Filmtrepreneur site, which is only focused on distribution and revenue generation, self-distribution, things like that for your film. And Indie Film Hustle TV is the streaming service that I have, and I just recently launched IFH Academy for high-end education, really high-end education for filmmakers. And I have a 1,000 other places, things to do and to promote. But the book is on Amazon. Ego and Desire is on Amazon Prime if you want to check it out right now. And leave a review if you like it.
There you have it, from indiefilmhustle.com. Alex Ferrari, thank you so much for fitting us in your very, very busy schedule. Really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure, man. Thank you for doing the good work you're doing out there.
Tune in next week, or for more info, visit financeyourmovie.com. Thank you for listening, and remember, if you have a story to tell the world, never give up on your dream. Copyright Nemours Marketing.